Dr. Arvind Kumar is an experienced crop scientist with about 30 years' experience in crop improvement, trait discovery to drought tolerance, disease insect resistance, and transla- translational research. As Deputy Director General Research, he leads and provides strategic direction to ICRISAT research in the area of climate resilience, nutrition, crop improvement, genomic traits development, crops, water, soil disease management, policy, agribusiness, market linkages, and capacity development of ICRISAT mandated crops grown mostly in the semi arid regions of the world. He has a PhD from Indira Gandhi Agricultural University, Raipur, International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology, New Delhi, in plant breeding, and postdoctoral training from the International Rice Research Institute, the Philippines, on molecular breeding. Dr. Kumar has been bestowed with several awards during his successful research career. These include honor from the Government of Nepal for contribution to agriculture in Nepal, Rafi Ahmed Kidwai Award 2014 in Crop and Horticultural Sciences, Government of India, Fellow, National Academy of Agricultural Sciences or FNAAS, Best Scientist Award of Indira Gandhi Agricultural University, Raipur, the Young Scientist Award from Madhya Pradesh Council of Science and Technology, Madhya Pradesh, India, and University Gold Medal of Indira Gandhi Agricultural University, Raipur, India. He has to his credit more than 62 varieties released and being cultivated in 10 different countries of Asia and Africa. He has identified 7 of the 10 known genes for resistance against rice gall midge. He has identified many QLTS for grain yield under drought, identified yield related traits under dry direct seeded situation, tolerance to rice root not nematode, and QTLs for high iron and zinc. He has published 162 research manuscripts, 31 chapters, acquired one patent, and 6 germplasm registrations. He has supervised more than 33 scholars and postdoctoral fellows, many of whom have built their own successful careers in agricultural research, including some in CGIAR system. Hello, sir. We are very lucky to have you with us today. We will take this opportunity to know more about you. We would love to know how you built your career. Could you please share your journey as a plant scientist with our viewers?
Yeah, thank you. Once again, thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the ability to talk to number of people. Uh, Maybe there are many people who are young, who are at the probably start of their career, and maybe my journey could be encouraging for them. Look, to start with, I come from a farming family. So for me, agriculture was not something new. So once you have agriculture in your mind somewhere, you building your career becomes easy. But then uh, coming from a normal farming family, if you have to have a very successful research career, you need to dream big. You
Definitely.
need to dream big and make all the efforts, sincere efforts to achieve that. And that is what could be the success for everybody. You know, the road to success lies in dreaming big and making sincere effort to achieve that success. I still remember once talking to late our beloved President Sri Abdul Kalam ji, when he himself asked me that, where do you want to reach, in your research? When I was somewhere in the mid level of the career, and I said, told him that I will be very happy when I see my research benefiting the farmers. So that the long term goal, that what you want to do will help. So as I said, I started my career from Indira Gandhi Agriculture University, very nice university, and with two of my supervisors who have always been supportive of good research, one at the master's level and one at the doctorate level. And they are still there. I am very happy to name them. One was Dr. Suraj Singh Baghel, and then the other was Dr. M.N. Srivastava. And in fact, I saw that probably I am in the hand of a very good supervisor who promotes research. And then my ability to do and see future came from that nurturing. So I would say those who are listening, who are guiding their students, we do have a duty that we nurture our students, the
Mhm.
young scientists, in a way that they prosper in their career. So I was fortunate to have that. And probably many of the other people are also fortunate to have it. But more we nurture, better we will generate young scientists. Then they showed me the dream that you need to dream big, and that is where I started thinking of. You see, my PhD from International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology. So
Mhm.
I started going there, working there every 3 months. Then I went to ERI for postdoc, and then subsequently, just after 6 months of return from the postdoc as a scientist, and I worked there. So what helped me was that to dream big and to make sincere effort. I worked at ERI for around 15 years, and then on all those times, I worked very sincerely on the drought tolerance, a very hard, complex trait, but worked successfully. Then I came to establish the ERI Center at Varanasi, where I was for 2 years. I was director, and then completing 2 years after establishing that center, I joined ICRISAT as Deputy Director General. So I would still say to people, these are the 2 points: that dream big and make sincere efforts. And if you see that I have succeeded in my career, you can be a better scientist than even what I have achieved by having the access to the new technology which is available to you, which was not to me at that point of time. These technologies were still under development. So thank you for this question, and thank you for uh, uh, trying to know about my past. But I hope that this can also become encouragement to young scientists.
Definitely, sir. Sir, according to you, which sectors of plant science research will prosper in the near future?
Look, the complexity to agriculture is increasing. The climate resilience, the climate change is posing new challenges for both, not only abiotic stresses, but also for the biotic stresses. The people's interest in agriculture is reducing. So I would say every stream of the science is going to be more important than what we were. But I can tell you definitely where we should put our hands on is the digital agriculture, mechanization. If we want to bring the young people into agriculture, the young masses to practice agriculture, the digital agriculture, mechanization, the value chain, the market linkages, entrepreneurship is something that will have more importance for the next few years. Probably after 10 years, again, things will change, and then we will have other problems. But this is what I am seeing as of now coming.
Sir, do you think we should consider abiotic stress more seriously to ensure global food security during the times of climate change and global warming?
Definitely so. Definitely so. We should consider and we should give more importance to abiotic stresses. Now, if you talk from the point of view of the dry lands, the the high temperature, the drought, the soil salinity, the soil erosion are important problem. And I did emphasize in beginning of my presentation that how
Mhm.
big this problem is. But then if you go to the other crops also, you just see that how much flood we have, within few days. So the whole the climate change, the way is going, it is very necessary that we put more importance to the abiotic stresses for every crop. For every crop, whether it is rice, whether it is maize, whether it is wheat, Even in the maize, people talk of that they need flood tolerance, you know, because if there is a flood water in the field for a few days, what will happen? So we have to see that, what is the need, what will be the need of the crops for the future, and then bring those traits, abiotic stress traits, into breeding program. Now that doesn't mean that biotic stress will not be important. We have seen the climate change also bringing the change of the some of the minor pest species are becoming major. So biotic stress will be important, but also the abiotic stress is going to be more important in time to come.
Right. Sir, do you think biofortified crops are the future of nutrition security?
Definitely, look, if you see the international efforts, in every crop, whether this is rice, whether this is beef, there is maize, whether this is nutri-cereals, there is effort. Most of the world we have obtained the food security, but still our nutritional security and health is somewhere we still want to achieve more. So the biofortified crops are the future, and they are the cheapest means and the easiest means of achieving the nutritional security. So if we have the biofortified crops, if we have the diversified cropping system, if we have diversified food, where we have nutritional part of the food also in our food habit, that is how we will achieve the nutritional security. And it is very necessary for us that we achieve it and we maintain it as quickly as we can.
Right. What is your opinion on golden rice commercialization?
So, look, I worked at Irian, so I'm aware of the golden rice development. And in fact, there has been news in 2 days back that the Philippines have allowed the seed production or the commercial cultivation, or at least production of the crop. You know, it has enormous importance from the nutritional security point of view.
Mhm.
Uh, we have to generate more data to satisfy people that health wise we don't have any side effect. Now, as a scientist, I believe in the technology. As a scientist, I know what benefit it has. But then we also have responsibility towards the society
Mhm.
to remove their doubts, to bring it. But my opinion, personal opinion about the golden rice commercialization, that knowing that how much it contributes to the nutritional security, this is something which has happened very good to the rice
Mhm.
farmers.
Sir, do you plan for strategy development for better seed storage under this global warming condition?
Um, Look, especially for the crops that we deal with, it is very necessary. The shelf life is less, So for us, the seed storage is very important. But also for the other crop, any crop. Think of that we talk of the digital agriculture. We talk of that farmers have all the information, whether information and farmer can take immediate measures based
Mhm.
on what is the current weather information. So, for example, if farmer get it in this weather information that monsoon will be delayed by
Mhm.
20 days, he has to totally shift the variety that he wants to cultivate.
Right.
And then, unless we have a well developed seed storage system, how do we facilitate that?
Mhm.
No, how do we facilitate? In our country, we have seen that there are areas where you have the flood in August, and then you still have 3 months. You want farmers want to develop to cultivate a 90 days old variety. We don't have
Mhm.
seed at that point of time. So having a good and better seed storage is must. Is must.
Recycle the Ghana Farmers Group was able to achieve 5 times more groundnut yield. Could you please highlight the role of your institute for such a breakthrough?
So The two breakthroughs, I would say three breakthroughs. One was that to develop that two varieties. No, Sarinut 1 and Sarinut 2 are the two varieties which were cultivated there, which
Mhm.
was not only high yielding but also were resistant to diseases like leaf spot. So one good thing was about having this variety that that ICRISAT developed. But then we also brought the technology, the agronomic management, the nutrient management, the soil management, and then the third one was that we worked with the community. We work with the community. So you bring a increase in yield by only working on the community. So this is something that has happened on the farmers field, and we feel proud that we were able to achieve it. So new variety, now providing the seed, providing the technology, and the working and capacity development of the farmers with whom we worked
Mhm.
got this change, and we feel proud of that.
That's amazing. How important is women empowerment in global agriculture?
Extremely important as anybody else. Women forms nearly half of the agriculture workforce. We we wish to see them that they form the half of the agri entrepreneurship. So women are the base of the agriculture. Nobody had better taste of agriculture than the women in the different roles. When I was working at for the rice, you know, uh, we had a survey that who is more bothered about the quality of the rice. It was women.
Mhm.
So the women has a very important role to play, and they are more important, I would say, than anybody else for the agriculture. And it is our duty that we ensure that we empower women in the global agriculture to not only become a good agriculturist, but also to become a good entrepreneurship, to become a good nutritionist, to become a owner of many of these the value chain processing plants. And in fact, you have seen that in recent past, many efforts have been carried out by many of the institutions where they have worked with the women-led organizations
Mhm.
to develop the value chains, to bring the agri entrepreneurship, and there are many successful models. So in short, women are more important in agriculture than anybody else.
So, do you have plans to motivate the new generation towards farming?
So one is that I was saying in the beginning that farming people, young people are not coming to farming because they see that it needs a lot of labor, it needs a lot of effort. They don't have the market linkage, they get less profit. So on one side, we have to work towards developing, bringing digital agriculture, bringing mechanization, bringing the capacity development for the youth. But on the other side, also we have to turn them into the entrepreneurs. Unless we provide them the linkage to market,
Mhm.
there are several examples where people who have been having a job in IITs in the foreign countries, they have returned, they have turned to youth agriculture and have
Mhm.
demonstrated success. So I would say that it needs a heart liking towards agriculture,
Mhm.
and there is every solution, but we fear that whether I will find a solution and we don't enter into agriculture. So on one side, while we have responsibility to provide that road and the linkage, on other side I will suggest the young youth that opportunities in agriculture is as good as opportunity anywhere, and the next few years for agriculture is going to be the digital agriculture, mechanized agriculture, where people will feel proud of taking agriculture as
Mhm.
one of their, I would say, career. And I wish that it happens as quickly as it happens, but definitely one day this will happen.
Sir, when we talk about supporting farmers, can agriculture output be improved by providing only monetary incentives to the farmers, or do they also need the help of more strategies?
Definitely, they need the help of more strategy also. Monetary incentive is something which help them to buy the input, on time. So that's I would say a welcome change. I have seen myself farmers how do they work, but then other than that, they also need capacity development. They also need support, strategic support. They also need linkage to market. They also need to know when they should sell their product, know up to when they store their product. They should also know more about the weather, the climate. So I think the strategic support is more important, I would say, than just the monetary incentives. But monetary incentives for the smallholder farmers are uh, really good.
Sir, how does a smallholder farmer get the benefit of modern mechanization?
Look, when the mechanization is developed, definitely it is developed from the point of view of the big farms because most of the mechanization, uh, the initially the technology came from the other countries. But if you see in our country now, the smaller machines have come. Now, the smallholder farmers, one is that government is providing a lot of incentives, a lot of subsidy to purchase. But then we can have this modernization at the village level, where the whole village comes together. And there are many examples where this has been practiced, that the whole village comes together and they purchase the equipment, they take the benefit of the subsidy, and then they introduce the mechanization. One of the problem of the mechanization in our country where our land holdings are small is the small fields that we have. That also there is a model where we say small field, large farm. We can do it together. And in fact, what choice we have if we don't go for mechanization? We have to modernization. If we don't go for that, how do we move ahead in the agriculture? How do we cut the cost of cultivation? How do we make agriculture less drudgery, drudgery? So, smallholder for farmers, getting mechanization is necessity.
Sir, what is your hope for digital agriculture? Is it possible for the developing countries?
Digital agriculture now is possible for everywhere, and I would say we have a huge opportunity. Now, majority and many of our farmers have access to mobile. So, you using that mobile becomes our device to bring that digital agriculture revolution. And I would say it is now it is somewhere near. I would say that it has gone to number of farmers, but we still have a long way to go. But this is it is highly possible in countries, not only in India. In India, it is definitely possible with so many the mobiles people are using, but in even other countries also. So I would say I consider India not underdeveloped, but even for the underdeveloped countries, it is possible.
Do you think global funding for agriculture research and development is at an optimal stage, or is there a need for more investment?
The problems in agriculture because of the climate change, have been increasing. So definitely there is a need to have more investment to support agriculture research. And in fact, because of last few years, the crisis that we have has also affected the investment in agriculture. So I would say it is a high time that the government, the public, the private sector, the foundations, they start thinking that how they can help the smallholder farmers and how they can prioritize their research support to agriculture.
What is your opinion on the CRISPR genome editing tool? Do you consider CRISPR crops to be GM crops?
Uh, there are two thoughts. One where people say that CRISPR is not a GM technology. There are others who say CRISPR is a GM technology. The way I see it is that we do modifications within the genome. We are not bringing something from the other genome. So at personal level, I don't see it as a GM crop.
Mhm.
But we also need to prove, as I said, with the golden rice, that we have to prove it, that
Right.
nothing is happening with the gene editing that we are doing. So probably in few years from now we will have answer to this question. But personally, based on the definition of the GM crop and based on what I see people doing with the CRISPR genome editing tool, I see it at my personal level not as a GM technology.
All right. You have many strong international collaborations. Could you give us some suggestions on how to maintain international collaboration?
Look, I would say work closely with different partners. So when you say collaboration, it becomes partnership. So
Right.
partnership means starting from beginning and work very closely, sharing everything, including the benefit, and also bringing the strategies implementation from every angle. So it could not be that one institute says that this is how we are moving ahead. So I would say start the collaboration from very beginning, take the input from everybody, and then work as equal partners, share everything, and that is how you nurture long-term good international collaborations. I
Mhm.
have had opportunity to work in the drought tolerant areas of India, Bangladesh, Nepal. For 14 years, we had that drought breeding network where we worked together with a number of institutions. And
Mhm.
I still cherish that relationship. I still have that relationship. So that collaboration turns into relationship when we work very closely.
Sir, you are a reviewer for many renowned journals and editor of books. Can you give us some key takeaway messages to improve manuscripts?
Yeah, manuscript writing is a art, and if you see that if you go through many of the manuscript, you will see that even they have done uh, not that much research, and they are able to publish in high impact journal. On the other side, you see that people have done a lot of research, but why they decided to put it into a publish it into a low impact journal. So I would say that uh, think of the research that you do, and again I would say dream high.
Mhm.
Dream high means you want try to publish your research to the highest impact factor journal that you want. But how to do it? How
Mhm.
to do it means then you have to read few manuscripts from that journal. Then you have to have a in your mind a outlay of your manuscript. So once you have that outlay and the brief outline of your manuscript, then you start writing. So once you develop the first is the outline of your manuscript
Mhm.
for all the topics that the journal wants. And then you find out that what is the strength of your manuscript. So once you know that what is the strength of your research,
Mhm.
you write your manuscript in a better way. So aspire to publish in a more high impact journal than
Mhm.
just to publish quickly. What will happen? The manuscript they will send you for again say that modify it. But
Mhm.
then once you publish it in a good reputed journal, you will enjoy. But then developing that outline, reading
Right.
few manuscripts in that area and also from that journal will be very helpful. And if you want, they if you want, then you can take the help of there are number of reviewers.
Mhm.
Sometimes your manuscript doesn't go well because our English is was not good in the manuscript. So English editing is also something that, that is needed. Now, the last point that I would say, because I believe there are a number of young people, that we own ourselves the responsibility to develop and submit the best manuscript.
Mm.
So that if we have that I will submit the best manuscript,
Mm.
then that takes care of the 80% success that manuscript will be published. But if we say that no, I have to just submit a manuscript, that won't work. Nobody has reviewer has time to correct your English, but you can correct your English by giving more time. Reviewer will see towards the scientific output. And so
Mm.
many of the times when the reviewer goes to the abstract need to be very have high strength. And in
Mm.
fact, the reviewer, they get a lot of impression, they create impression reading the abstract, that
Right.
how could be the manuscript.
That was great advice, sir. Sir, when you hire a research fellow or a researcher, what qualities do you look for other than academics?
Yeah, look, we look for, one is that academic, you said, the ability to do good research, the knowledge, and this and this. But then there are other factors, whether this person will be able to work as a team. Research is just not individual. Whenever you start something, you always have to work with 4 or 5 people. So a
Right.
person has to be a team player. How sincere that person is. For us, and I think for every institute, it is also important whether person will be able to work in multicultural society. Our culture differs, as you move. Take the example of from India to US, the whole culture differs. So whether that person is able to will be able to work in multicultural society, or take the example of movement within India, South India to North India, the culture
Mm.
differs.
Mm.
And so we have to we also try to see it. So sincerity, ability to work in multicultural society, the value for the science, the ethics we try to know from. We have a very high value for the scientific ethics,
Mm.
and then ability to work as a team player.
Sir, we are nearing the end of this interview session. So, one final question for you. What would your words of advice be to the students and scholars who are new to the field of plant science research?
Uh, as I said in the beginning, first thing is to dream high, you know, and commit yourself to do sincere research. So sincere research needs a lot of commitment. Doing sincere research needs a lot of commitment. But then I will move one step forward. I would say, think what practical output your research will bring. That is necessary. You just don't want to do
Mhm.
research and publish a paper. You
Mhm.
want to enjoy that your research is being used by a number of people. So research must bring some practical benefit.
Mhm.
If we outline our research, if we start our research with that angle, now you get satisfaction, lot satisfaction. I don't know, after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, but definitely one day you will get that satisfaction that people are using your research.
Right.
So dream big, big dream, sincere, but also thinking of doing some practical output oriented research.
That was wonderful advice, sir. Thank you so much. It was wonderful to hear about your views.